Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Legends of Tomorrow Season 4, and this is going to be my review for Episode 2 of this season, otherwise entitled Witch Hunt. But of course, before we get into the rest of the video, if you have not watched the episode, go watch the episode, then come back to this review later on. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions on this episode of Legends of Tomorrow. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So last episode was obviously the season premieres. Basically, we got introduced to the invasion, if you want to call it, or the, just the release of all these magical, mystical, and mythical creatures onto our Earth and throughout the timeline. With the unicorn being our first entry into it all, and it was not the most friendly unicorn as you would expect. But at the end of the episode, we did see Constantine targeted by like some sort of demon or being or something like that, and we do get, suggestions that the follow on from that in this episode. But speaking of Constantine, he does, enter this episode as a consultant, not a legend, because as we saw at the end of last episode, he said he wouldn't do something he would rather do something than join the legends or something like that. But he says he doesn't want to be a legend, he just wants to be a consultant, and I think it's just an excuse so he doesn't have to dress up, so he can wear his trench coat, white shirt and tie all the time. But in this episode, we do head to Salem in 1692. Now, we've been to Salem before, I'm pretty sure. Don't think it was this time period, but it was when, I think the beginning of Season 2 of Legends, when they went to retrieve all the legends after they'd been stuck throughout time, and that's where Sarah was, and she was being trialed for being a witch because she was getting on pretty well with the fellow females in that time period. But throughout this episode, we do see Nate trying to get on with his father, as you saw the early, childhood footsteps, if you want to call it. Last episode, and there's that awkward dinner with his dad where, doesn't have any money, they're always on edge, those two, I think. But I think that's one of the big things for this season. We're going to see them, their relationship, bond better and just, be how it should have been, in the past, but obviously things got in the way of that. But really the big storyline for Salem this week was that there was a mother who was being trialed for being a witch, and then a daughter who was actually the one doing all this stuff because she actually has a fairy godmother. But we see the mother is actually taken to be trialed as a witch, and we do see this big crow attack, where it's pecking people's eyes out and just attacking people, that obviously being caused by the daughter's fairy godmother. But in regards to that fairy godmother, they're obviously having a bit of a play with Disney in this episode because there was multiple Disney references, and then the song sounded very Disney-esque, and I think even Sarah says what in the Disney hell is this? So the fairy godmother is definitely playing on that Disney sort of vibe with all the songs and stuff like that, which was pretty funny. Now, one of the big parts for this episode was the debacle around the whole saving of the mother. So we had the mother of the the daughter that had the fairy godmother, and it was basically a sort of, not a fight, but a debate between Zari and Sarah on what was right to do. Now, it's not like Sarah was no, just let the mother die. It's just that Sarah was really abiding by the rules, but Zari, from her experience last week where she was in the position to save her mother, but she knew that it would just completely stuff everything up, she couldn't do it. In this case, she could do it, and it really wouldn't have too much of an effect on anything. So I thought that was actually a really good scene they have in this episode. Legends tends to do that. There's something they could just skip over if they wanted to, but afterwards people could question why they didn't, think about it. Legends generally jumps into that and, forms its own mini storyline, if you want to call it, throughout an episode based off that. So due to that, we see Zari almost head down a pretty dark path where we do see the trialing, if you want to call it, or the proofing that mother is a witch. And we see Zari, sucking the air out of people's lungs, all the men's lungs in that room, or most of them, and potentially almost killing them. So that was a really good scene in regards to Zari realizing that what she could become, and just that she was basically proving these people right. Because one thing that is made evident right at the end of not right at the end of the episode, but towards the end, is that Salem in 1692 is extremely similar to Zari's future, where her mother was killed and her father was killed, and then her brother as well. So it's extremely similar to that, and I think she's even asked by Prudence, the young girl, it's just does anything change? And she's like, no. Basically it's the same in regards to picking off people and all of that. It's because it's extremely similar to Zari's future. Obviously, in present day where we are, it's not that bad, but in regards to Zari's future where she was, obviously the whole metahuman act and all of that came in, so she, feels very similar in regards to what her situation was in the future to what it was back here in Salem in 1692. Almost said 1962. Don't think that's real, but yeah, 1692. Now, in regards to Prudence, the young girl, the escape scene in the Waverider was pretty funny when we see Mick and Ray turned into good old pigs. Would have been cool if there was 3 people there. Then we have the 3 little pigs, but they might be saving the 3 little pigs for later in this season. So that was pretty funny. I guess the funniest bit was not necessarily Ray as a pig, but when they cut to Mick as a pig and he's still eating. I thought that was hilarious. And then Constantine has his mouth sewn up, or at least his mouth is just taken away, and I think a lot of people would be like, maybe that's good for him, maybe he should shut his mouth once in a while. But I guess one of the most interesting things about this episode towards the end is how big of a threat this thing, or whatever it is that's targeting Constantine is, as that fairy godmother just doesn't want a piece of it. She's like, I know exactly what's going after you. You are damned, and I'm not getting anywhere near you. She'd rather go to hell than help out Constantine, and obviously she was pretty scared of hell. So I wonder when we're going to find out what that thing, or who this thing is that's targeting Constantine is. I don't think we're going to find out in the next couple of episodes. They probably will leave it till maybe the mid-season finale, maybe similar to Mullis from last season, but I'm intrigued. I want to see what it is and how threatening it is, and necessarily what damage it's going to do moving forward. Like, is it just a threat to Constantine, or is it a threat to everyone? But obviously throughout this episode, I mentioned Nate before, but throughout the rest of the episode, Nate had been with the Time Bureau, and the Time Bureau's issue in this episode was, getting government funding. And who's the person that's really deciding this? Oh, it's Nate's dad. So, there's some comedy there between good old Gary and Ava and stuff like that, but really Nate is the one that hammers it home and proves that magic is real. You can prove the timeline stuff and all that you could, easily be able to prove that, or maybe not easily, but it'd be more likely to prove the different timeline changes and like aberrations and all of that. But proving magic can be a bit hard, so he's very lucky that the fairy godmother reverses all that stuff. At the correct time, we see Ray turn back into Ray from the pig into Nate's arms. But yeah, so the thing with that is that Nate is now just sticking around with the Time Bureau. Now, I think they're doing this because I think in maybe not next episode, but the episode after, it could be even next episode, we could run into the new character for this season, played by Maisie Richardson Sellers, who played Amaya last season. So they might want it that like Nate's just at the Time Bureau, while this new version of Amaya, who will be called Charlie from this mythical area, or she will be a fugitive, so she'll be one of these mythical people. I think they want to have her on the Waverider for a bit, and then eventually she'll meet Nate, and it'll be some sort of like tension or drama. And you know how it is. You know how they do it on these shows. So I think that's maybe what they're doing there. I don't know. That might not be what they're doing, but it just seems like that could be the reason as to why Nate might be sticking around on the Time Bureau for now. And obviously, there's the thing with him and his father. They might find this is the easiest way to get them to connect all the time. So that could be one reason that he's staying back with the Time Bureau rather than going back to the Waverider at this point in time. But overall, I thought this was a pretty solid episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I did think the premiere was better, but this is just one of those episodes where they are just laying up different plot points for this season, but also including time travel and, us dealing with another one of these fugitives and just really explaining it and just moving it all forward. So I am interested to see what they do going forward in this season, because Legends is one of those shows that it's a piss take. Like, it is a parody of itself while still being serious at the same time. But I am interested to see how Constantine's involved with this, because one of the issues that a lot of people have had is that they might make this show, this season of Legends, just like Constantine season 2, which a lot of people don't want. They still want it to be Legends, which I want it to be Legends as well. But from what I'm seeing, it's mixing in that Constantine vibe, but with like a comedy sort of undertone to it. So it's almost like comedic Constantine just chucked into Legends, which I think is good. But obviously, I guess the big curiosity for this season going forward is what the hell is targeting Constantine, as well as what other magical fugitives are we going to be running into. Like, we know we're meeting werewolves and stuff like that, but what else are they going to chuck into the mix as well? So I'm very intrigued by that. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below. What was your favorite part of the episode? Did you not like it? What bits didn't you like? What bits did you love? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.